Bula, good morning. A warm welcome to you all. A special welcome to the Chief Guest, the Attorney-General and Minister for Communications, officials from the Department of Communications, Walesi Chairman, our media delegates, key stakeholders from the various media agencies in Fiji. We are gathered here today to make certain announcements on Walesi, the progress that Walesi has made over the years. As most of you know, Walesi was launched in December 2017. At the time, we barely had 5 transmitter sites and were pretty much in a trial phase, testing out the technology and getting people accustomed to the digital platform. As we speak, we've progressed quite a lot. Over the last 4 to 5 years, Walesi's introduced 25 more transmitter sites. So we started with about 5 transmitter sites. Now we have 25 transmitter sites. We have terrestrial coverage of about 95% of Fiji. We've also got the satellite technology, which covers the remaining 5% that are not covered by the digital terrestrial platform. We've also got the Walesi app, which has got 700,000 users and is most probably the most popular app in this region. To the good news, we are here to announce the launch of a HD channel on Walesi. We've got FBC Sports that would be telecast. We start off with the HD channel, and we've got Sayed-Khaiyum, the FBC CEO, here to give us further information on that. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Just a quick announcement today. We're very proud of the fact that FBC is going to be part of Fiji's first full high-definition channel, and that is going to be by the way of FBC Sports Channel. Some of you may have noticed, some of you who do watch a lot of sports, you may have noticed that the quality of our sports channel has increased over the last week or so. We've been doing a lot of work in the background with Walesi, and I'd like to thank Walesi for that. The idea was to get this ready in time for the World Cup Soccer, which FBC has the rights for, and it'll start on November 20th. And although a lot of our sports you'll be able to already watch on HD, we've invested a lot of money by way of a lot of equipment, because HD is just not about the channel being HD, but the back-end equipment that we have for broadcast being HD capable as well. So the big news is that this year, for the first time in Fiji, for all Fijians, the World Cup Soccer will be in full HD, and furthermore, after that, every sporting event that we have on the FBC Sports Channel is going to be in full HD, and it's a proud moment for us, because this is the region's only free-to-air 24-hour sports channel in full HD. Also, we've been working a lot with Walesi, and you may have noticed this as well, that we have a radio OTT streaming on the Walesi set-top box, where you are able to now listen to all our radio stations through the set-top box. So no matter where you are in Fiji, as long as you have a Walesi set-top box, you'll be listening to all of our radio stations. And once the Walesi project is over and there is 100% coverage of Fiji, every Fijian householder will be able to listen to our station, not only through a radio or through AM services, but through the television, through the set-top box as well. As part of this, we have also worked quite well with Walesi in the last couple of years to ensure that our radio stations are now available on the Walesi app as well, and that has been around for some time. We haven't made an official announcement of it until now. So that is to ensure that there's redundancy all throughout the country for any of our services in times of natural disaster, and it's not only for entertainment purposes, but for important events throughout the country, where you are able to, at any time, at any point, be able to sort of be connected with what's happening around Fiji and the world. And also, I'm going to sneak this in very, very quickly. Mirchi FM, which has been our premier radio station, Hindi radio station, which was officially declared the world's only Fiji Hindi radio station about 2 years ago, and we There was some resistance to that, but thank God, we've picked up pace on that, and the resistance is now a thing of the past. And in order to reflect the Fiji Hindi ethos of Mirchi FM, we've changed the slogan from "It's hot" to now "Bahut Julum," which everyone recognizes and relates to in Fiji, and that is what Mirchi FM is all about. It's about being able to connect with people in the language that they use and understand on a daily basis. So that's it from FBC. I'd like to thank Walesi and the government of Fiji, our shareholders, for being very supportive of all these new technological changes that we are working on, have worked on, and experiencing, and there are other things that we're working on that we should be able to announce in months to come. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming here this morning. This is actually quite a culmination of what we had set out as government probably about 5 years ago, or indeed before that, when we had conceptualized of having a common platform. Having a common platform in particular for radio and television is critically important for a small island developing state, where the cost of infrastructure input by individual companies becomes very restrictive, because in order to keep up to pace with technology, individual companies have to keep on investing large amounts of capital. If they don't do that, then obviously they get left behind, and overall the country and the consumers lose out. But it is also very difficult for them to do it because we have a very small market base. Commercial companies, whether it's television, whether it's radio, do need the advertising dollar to be able to make those levels of investments. So as government, we are very keen to ensure that Fijians have access to the latest technology as far as communication is concerned. And I remember when we launched the Walesi Platform and investments that have been made, and there are quite significant amounts of investments that have been made to date, there was a lot of criticism by those who actually could not look into the future, nor could they understand what we were trying to do, because they failed to read up as to what was the rationale behind it. Today, as highlighted by the CEO of Walesi, we have actually 100% coverage of Fiji in television. We had individual companies, let me talk about television first, we had individual companies before, having their own little transmitters, their little masts, covering parts of Fiji. Certain parts of Fiji weren't covered, other parts were covered. My TV, for example, I see Stanley in between the cameras, was only in between the Suva Nosori corridor. They don't have the capital. They currently can't even keep up to pace with the television license. And we've given them a payment system to be able to catch up with the television license fees. So today we have a company like My TV that every single Fijian can watch everywhere. And I hope My TV actually appreciates this. If it weren't for Walesi, they won't have that level of coverage. If it weren't for that level of connectivity, they won't be able to go out to their customers and say, advertise with us, because somebody in Taveuni can now watch us. So we are increasing the customer base of small free-to-air television companies. And that's precisely what Walesi's objective was. It was also the overall objective. There's some other plans in place for Walesi. And as has been highlighted again by the CEO of FBC, that today all of FBC's radio channels are available on the Walesi platform. Before, people in Rotuma, in southern Lao, etc., could only listen to what we traditionally call the AM frequency. Now they can, on the Walesi platform, listen to all the commercial radio stations, including what was called FM. Highlighted about Mirchi, highlighted about Gold, of course, now I understand is also an AM. But all the other channels that are actually available only in what we call the FM modulation. So, again, CFL is here. They've chosen so far not to go with Walesi. If tomorrow they go with Walesi, people in Lao and Rotuma can actually hear FM 96 and all the other stations that they have, but they've chosen not to. So Walesi is what we call a ubiquitous platform, where you find radio stations, where you find TV stations available everywhere. And that's precisely what we intend to do. the technology that Walesi is using is currently not utilized to its maximum capacity. We have the ability in the future to be able to have people send back messages to us. And it is critically important that when you have a country that is so much on the cold face of climate change, 14 cyclones since 2016, if we have only, for example, people in Laos or wherever else are only able to listen to AM, but now they've got other means of communication or listening or getting information, it obviously builds what we call redundancy. So if Walesi is down, you still got AM that you can depend on your typical AM modulation. If the AM is down, you got the Walesi. So we're building redundancy in communications, in particular for people to get information. So this is critically important for us to be able to understand. I mean, so far I've got some statistics here. As you know, that we had a policy as a government to give set-top boxes or ex gratia, in others for free, for those households that earn less than $30,000 a year. So far, through the government scheme, we've distributed 218,065 digital terrestrial television set-top boxes and 3,164 digital satellite receivers. Now, the receivers are different, obviously, to the dishes which they buy. But we got, in other words, when you have 3,164 digital satellite receivers, in other words, there's 3,164 dishes out there, where people who cannot be connected through terrestrial means are able to connect through the dishes themselves. We've now got the digital switchover that has taken place in Viti Levu. We've got about 175,000 set-top boxes in the Central and Western Division. We're going to now, for example, switch over in the Northern Division, commencing on the 19th of September, and we're aiming to reach a total of about 40,000 households in the Northern Division itself, which of course includes not just Vanua Levu, but also Taviuni, Rambi, and Kioa. We've also connected schools. We've got village halls, for example, where there's a community hall. We connect them. We give them a set-top box. We give them a television set. It's been greatly appreciated, in particular during COVID also, where we had students who were able to access the education channels. A lot of them during lockdowns, they could not get out. They had to stay in the villages. They were able to communicate or get access to information through the education channels. And that's actually been highly significant. We've now also, as I've already mentioned, the radio stations, but we've now got ABC, BBC, and Hope Channel that are actually interested in joining the Walesi platform for their radio services. So you can actually have 24/7 BBC radio, 24/7 ABC radio, and 24/7 the Hope Channel. They also have a radio channel, which they want to again join on the Walesi platform. And Walesi, of course, through the courtesy of government assistance, we're able to have Wi-Fi hotspots which we've created. And as we've seen, there are far more people now who are able to access information and like to access information through these types of services. As the CEO of Walesi highlighted, we have over 700,000 Walesi app users, and it would be one of the the highest in the region, barring of course Australia and New Zealand. But that's a significant proportion of the app users when you have a population of 890,000 Fijians. So in other words, only 180,000 Fijians aren't using the app. And we've seen the convenience of that. So whether they want to listen to the radio whilst they're on the bus going home, or whether they want to watch television on the bus when they're going home, or in the taxi, wherever they are, they're able to do that. I mean, we've seen photographs of people sitting in minibuses, traveling, and they're listening to or watching different channels. We think that there's an opportunity for Walesi to also partner with some of the international providers of commercial services and commercial entertainment. And we hope, and I'd like to thank also and acknowledge Robert Khan, who's the chair of Walesi, for his fortitude. And despite a lot of these sort of unwelcome, or what I should say, unreasonable comments about Walesi, they've carried on. And also Sanjay, I see some of the members of his team at the back. I've seen a number of them out in the rural areas. We met up in places like Dakondrove and various other places. In fact, the Honourable Prime Minister is currently in Dakondrove. He should be landing there would have landed there about 10 o'clock. And there's a number of of areas where he's also will be, commissioning the Walesi usage that we put up in various schools and also, community halls. I would like to also slightly talk about, as Sanjay said, the overall sort of picture of communications, because I've seen the mobile phone companies here too. We, as part of the connectivity program, as you know, when these Samoans connected to the Southern Cross cable, the cable came between Tavyuni and Suvavou, came up from the northeast to connect to Rifle Range. And we had a World Bank funding of about $10 million, $9.8 million, where we built a pipe out of that. So it landed on in Suvavou. TFL is commencing, so the tenders have already gone out. They're laying a fiber optic cable from Lambasa, first of all, Lambasa to Senganga. And then, of course, they'll connect Suvavou with that too. Now, what's happened as a result of that is that when we did do that funding, to land the cable, we had some residual funding because we used the money wisely, and we used about $1.2 to $1.4 million connecting very unconnected or remote locations, predominantly schools and nursing stations. So you would have seen last year, early this year, there are about 40 sites in Walesi, predominantly schools where we call for tenders. We had Vodafone, we had TFL, we had Digicel. They all tendered. And depending on who were the best, we gave them different locations. What is critically important for us also is that the schools that had communities living around it, we in fact Wi-Fi'd the school compound. So the villagers could come, sit in the school compound day or night and connect to Viber, WhatsApp, connect to the Walesi platform on the OTT and sort of, get themselves connected, watch my TV and various other channels, whatever it would be. And so that's part of empowering people, part of giving people information. The nursing stations have also been connected, so doctors and nurses are able to connect to the bigger hospitals. It may be something complicated. They can actually take the camera, show what the patient's condition is like, show the actual wound or what have you, so they can get information. So this is overall part of the communication strategy that we have. And overall, as you've seen, a huge growth in interest, and indeed new businesses have come in to use the what we call the BPO sector. It was the only sector that grew during COVID, about 3,000 new jobs in 2020, 2021. We believe Walesi is ripe also for BPO. And with the fiber optic cable being laid between Suvavou and Lambasa eventually, we think that we would like to drive some new incentives to send BPO companies to Walesi. There's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot more land available, and there's of course a lot of people available. We'd like some people to go from Viti-Levu to Walesi to go and provide the services in Walesi. So we see a whole sort of, there's the whole strategy behind this that what we're trying to implement. And overall, what we have seen and the feedback that we receive, obviously, from tourists coming to Fiji, as you know, the rate of internet connectivity is in Fiji one of the cheapest in the world, actually. And recently we've seen the statistics. Israel is the cheapest, and the next is Kyrgyzstan. Is it Kyrgyzstan? Kyrgyzstan, and then it's Fiji. So we've sort of established ourselves in that space. What is really important for us now, obviously, is to make sure that everybody is well connected. And because, they say the digital space can be the greatest equalizer, but it can also be the greatest disequalizer. If we want to talk about having e-learning, we need to ensure that everybody is connected. We cannot have e-learning only in Suva, but the people in rural Dakandrove or rural Madhwata aren't connected, because those children will be far more at a disparity with those in the urban centers. So that's the overall strategy in terms of what we're doing. Walesi obviously is part of it. Sports, as you know, is very important. I'd like to take this opportunity, obviously, to congratulate the Fijian team for winning the Melrose Cup. But sports is very much part of our sort of DNA. And so having a sports channel that's got high definition, clarity, which will mean a lot more people will be entertained. They'll be able to watch high quality sports, and of course with the upcoming World Cup too. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank everybody that's been involved. I'd like to thank Sanjay and his team. And good to see their faces again. And I've seen some of these people over here out in the various schools we've been to, rural areas. It's great to see they've got a very young team at Walesi. and we'd like to thank them for their hard work. I'd also like to thank Robert Khan and the board for their tenacity and their foresight in terms of some of the things that Walesi is doing, and there'll be obviously a lot more to do. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and congratulations again to FBC. I urge all the other entertainment information providers to please, if you have not had the foresight to join the Walesi platform, please do so, because it will not only give you a good footprint, but also be beneficial for you commercially. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. That pretty much brings us an end to the formalities of the event. One of the things I'd like to highlight is we at Walesi are constantly working towards enhancing the resiliency of our network. That's the reason of upgrading our platforms, introducing more transmitter sites, constantly upgrading our power systems and all. As part of increasing our network size, we also want to be the most easily accessible organization where people can easily access the Walesi system, the set-top boxes, customer service, backup service. So we've got a total of about 8 customer service centers across Fiji. We're looking at introducing a couple more with the digital switchover happening. Like the Minister said, AG said, we've done the digital switchover exercise in VT level, which effectively means that the broadcasters have switched off their analog transmitters. We're starting the process of digital switchover in the north from next week. We envisage that to take about 2 months. Once we complete that exercise, we'll connect more than 50,000 households, and the broadcasters can then switch off their analog transmitters. TV broadcasters can switch off their analog transmitters in those areas as well. We also, with the constant demand for OTT, with about 85-90% penetration of the smartphones in Fiji, there's a huge demand for our OTT platform. This morning when the games were on, someone has difficulty accessing the games. System just couldn't cater for those 700,000 users trying to get online at the same time. So we are in the process of upgrading our platform, and so that we can have a greater capacity and have more Fijians enjoying television away from home as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings an end.